the strategy of the company was solid, you know, make the end user aware, make it easy to buy, and there were plenty of end users around the world. The challenge we had was we didn't have a culture that was one that would allow us to expand globally. The culture was very strong, but it was a very inward domestic culture. So the biggest opportunity I had was how do you take a company and build a culture globally? And there's a story behind that because I didn't know how to do it. And I was on an aeroplane about a year into my role as CEO. I was on a Qantas 747 in the upper deck. I was flying from Los Angeles to Sydney, and it was about 38,000 feet above the sea across the Pacific Ocean, and maybe 2 a.m. in the morning. I don't know what time it was, but I had my little reading lamp on. I think it was the only light that was shining down in the cabin. And as you do when you travel a lot, you know, you always have that folder with a lot of stuff in it that you've never read that you want to read. And I was kind of reading through things, and I read an article, and it had this statement in it. Our purpose in life is to make people happy. If we can't make them happy, at least don't hurt them. And it was attributed to the Dalai Lama. I thought, wow, that's a really interesting concept. I like that. And
Mm,
interestingly enough, I was reading another article and it quoted Aristotle: pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. And I
mm,
thought, wow, how could you create a culture where people really, really enjoyed what they were doing? Hopefully, you could send them home happy, which I thought was a great thing because happy people build happy families build happy communities build a happy world. And if Aristotle was right, and I guess I got to think he might be, he was born in 384 BC and he's accredited with being a philosopher, then they would do great work. And that kind of stuck in my head. And I kept thinking, how do I do this? And then the third influencer in all of this was Dr. Ken Blanchard. I saw a program at the University of San Diego, and it was a master's degree in leadership. And I went to a information session on it, and Ken was speaking there, and he said most MBAs get people in the head. We got to start getting them in the heart, because it's the heart and soul of people that create a passion, which creates a high will of the people. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. So I went and I applied. And as a CEO of a public company in the year 2000, I went back to school and I got a master's degree in leadership. And
mm.
in that 2 year period, I learned all of the aspects that were important to build a great culture. You know, the first one is, you know, do you have a totally dedicated people mindset? You know, it's all about the people. It's not about you. You know, I'm the dumbest person in the room, thank goodness, so I can surround myself with great people. Do you have a clearly identifiable purpose? So why do we all get up every day? And we created a new purpose at the company, and we existed to create positive, lasting memories, solving problems in factories, homes, and workshops around the world. So now, as we went out to create that culture globally, when I was talking to new people that would come on board, I'd say, hey, we're going to create memories in 176 countries around the world. Don't you think that's fun? Gives you little goosebumps, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got to have a clearly defined hierarchical set of values, very important. The values were the foundation. So the values were going to be the same across the world. And that not only protected our people, but set them free. And then, of course, you have to have a great strategy. You have to be bold at your execution. And then finally, we had to take fear out of the learning. So we said, we're not going to make mistakes. We're going to take the word failure out. We're going to have learning moments. And the definition of a learning moment was the positive or negative outcome of any situation that needs to be openly and freely shared with all people. So that was kind of the journey from, you know, getting the opportunity, being scared but not afraid, identifying what I thought was the way we could go, going and learning how to do it, and then executing it, and the rest is history.